Hi guys, I've decided to show you the difference between cooking pasta when we use the ratio 200 grams of flour and 1 egg, whereas another approach can be taken, and in this case you take 200 grams of flour and 2 eggs. There's recipes without eggs for pasta, so if you prefer and if you don't eat eggs, please do refer to those, and I will probably show one of those recipes in the future. But today we're going to be busy with making dough for pasta using two different approaches. So it's ratio 200 grams of flour and 1 egg, and another ratio is 100 gram of flour and 1 egg basically. So, and you use water based on your experience. Basically, I advise you to use the same amount of water approximately that you use the flour, but please do not add it all at once. So here, since we have 200 grams of flour, we're going to use 200 milliliters of water, but I'll add it part by part and then mix it and see how it goes. So here's how I advise you to start mixing. First, using your fork, slightly add some flour to the egg. So before, you may want to mix the egg itself. However, I didn't, so I just mixing flour with the egg bit by bit from different sides, and try not to mix it all at once. I'm doing it in the table, but you can actually take a bowl and do it within a bowl. You can actually use a mixer for that. I did sometimes as well, but the practice shows that, you know, in the end you still need to do some hand exercises with mixing the dough for it to be as tender and as elastic as possible. So please add flour bit by bit. Mix what you have, leaving the rest, on sides untouched. You're mixing this egg with the flour. You can do it a bit quicker. You're mixing it, then you add some more flour. Yeah, you can actually mix, all together, because for example with the mixer doesn't do it as gently as I do on the table with hand, but it's okay just to use it to mix it all together all at once. But the practice shows that it's a bit easier to work with dough when flour is mixed into the dough, step by step. So the egg is incorporated and the flour is incorporated within the egg quite evenly this way. So I guess it's time for our hands to step in this case. Just a reminder, here we have 2 grams of flour and 1 egg. And the dough, well, obviously the dough will be a bit harder here, but what I've noticed is that with this approach, when you boil it, macaroni, pasta, whatever shape you make, become a bit harder, like al dente, as they say in Italy. So you may want to use this approach when you're making spaghetti or pasta or any kind of macaroni on itself, so like without adding it to the soup or other ingredients, other dishes where there are many ingredients. If you're making spaghetti on its own, then I think it may be better to use this one, because they appear to be slightly harder. Well, it depends on taste basically, but what you may expect is for this dough to be harder when you boil it. And this one is 200 grams of flour and 2 eggs. Oops, it may happen, especially when you're using a small amount of flour and you don't use bowl. Don't panic, it's okay. It's just that the flour needs to be moved towards the egg, and you just shake it and mix it, shake it and mix it. Okay, in this case you still add flour from sides. Yeah, but in this case one egg escaped the center, but it's not a problem at all if you know how to prevent the egg falling down the table or just mixing with this. Well, it won't be mixed. So let's see how quickly and what is the difference in textures with this ratio within the recipe. So please don't be afraid of anything. Everything is fine. I'm just talking to myself now. Yeah, so the dough is softer, as you can see. We've used almost all flour now, right? Yes, so we've used almost all the flour. Yep, and you can feel it. I can see via my smartphone, which I'm using to do this video, to make this video. It can be seen that the dough will be softer and a bit more wet, but you need to, after you mix it with your mixer or with fork, as I do, I'm doing at the moment, so you still need to mix it with your hands. And then I guess it comes with practice when you feel it under your fingers whether the dough is ready or not. In both cases, after you mix it well with your hands, the dough needs to rest for half an hour or an hour. You just leave it alone. You can wrap it in, you can just cover with kitchen towel or anything else, or just leave it in your bowl and cover it if you have a special cover. So just mix it this way, and now we have to use our hands to mix it. Let's see how it ends up. So here we have the dough with 1 egg and 200 grams of flour, about 30 milliliters of water, just some. And here we have the dough with 200 grams of flour, 2 eggs, and almost maybe 10 or 15 milliliters of water. So here, since we have 2 eggs, the dough is moist enough. Please be careful with water. This dough requires a bit more effort to mix it, to make it elastic. This one is easier. So let's roll it. So the dough is rolled and it's ready for shaping. By the way, I advise you to use rice flour for these purposes. And the rice flour is the guarantee that the dough will not glue to a table or to hands or to any tools that you use. So please use rice flour and you will be pleasantly surprised. Here's basically how you do it. Just roll the dough, cut it, dry it, and make it, boil it. Here's what we have from the first dough with 1 egg. Well, obviously the dough is harder, so I risked it to make macaroni slightly thicker. Here's the second option of dough with 2 eggs, which is softer. That's why I made it thinner. So we'll let it dry for an hour or so and boil.